300 things every Apush student should know by exam day. Questions and answers with verified solutions already. Past. Columbus. Answer. Italian navigator who discovered the New World in the service of Spain while looking for a route to China. 1451 to 1506. Columbian exchange. Answer. The transfer of plants, animals, and diseases between the Americas and Europe, Asia, and Africa following Columbus's voyage. Bartolomeo de las Casas. Answer. 16th century Spanish historian and Dominican friar, known as the protector of the Indians. He opposed atrocities committed by colonizers on indigenous people. Jamestown. Answer. The first permanent English settlement in America, founded in 1607 in Virginia. John Smith played a key role in its survival, with tobacco becoming its primary cash crop. The colony faced severe hardship, including the starving time. House of Burgesses. Answer. Formed in 1619 in Virginia, it was the first legislative body in colonial America. Later, other colonies established similar bodies. Mayflower Compact. Answer. The first agreement for self-government in America, signed in 1620 by all male passengers of the Mayflower, setting up a government for the Plymouth colony. Mercantilism. Answer. An economic policy under which nations sought to increase their wealth and power by obtaining large amounts of gold and silver and selling more goods than they bought. Puritans. Answer. A religious group that wanted to purify the Church of England. They sought religious freedom and settled in Massachusetts BI during the 1630s and 1640s. 1/4. Roger Williams. Answer. A Puritan dissenter who advocated for religious freedom, the separation of church and state, and fair treatment of Native Americans. He was convicted of sedition, Indy heresy, and banished from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. He founded Providence Plantation, Rhode Island in 1636. Salem witch trials. Answer. A series of witchcraft trials in Salem, Massachusetts, where Cotton Mather was the chief judge. 18 people were hanged as witches, and many others were persecuted. Later, it was admitted that the trials were a mistake. Pueblo Revolt. Answer. A Native American uprising in the late 17th century against Spanish rule in New Mexico. The revolt expelled the Spanish for over a decade, and Spain later adopted a more accommodating approach to the natives. William Penn. Answer. An English Quaker who founded Pennsylvania in 1682. He created it as a holy experiment based on religious tolerance. Salutary neglect. Answer. British colonial policy during the reigns of George I and George II. It involved relaxed supervision of internal colonial affairs by royal bureaucrats, which contributed significantly to the rise of American self-government. Cecil Calvert. Answer. An English Catholic aristocrat who founded Maryland to reap financial profits and to create a refuge for fellow Catholics. Triangular trade. Answer. A three-way trade system that operated between 1600-1800s. Africa sent slaves to America. America sent raw materials to Europe, and Europe sent guns and rum to Africa. Jonathan Edwards. Answer. A preacher during the First Great Awakening, known for his famous sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. James Oglethorpe. Answer. An English leader who founded Georgia in 1732 as a colony where debtors from England could start new lives. Slave trade. Answer. A European trade agreement with Africa dealing with the capture and transportation of slaves. The trade was an integral part of the triangular trade between the Americas, Africa, and Europe. It lasted from the 1490s to the 1790s. Most slaves came from West Africa and were sold by other Africans. Northern colonies, commercial north. Answer. The group of American colonies, including Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire, characterized by minimal slavery, strong religious teas, Puritan, and economies based on fishing, lumber, shipbuilding, and fur. Middle colonies, religious middle. Answer: the group of American colonies, including Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, and New Jersey, no WN. For fertile river valleys, being the breadbasket of the colony's cultural diversity, and bustling harbors like Philadelphia and New York City. Lumber and fur were key products. Southern colonies, agricultural th. Answer: the group of American colonies, including Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, that were very rural, relied heavily on plantations with slave labor, and grew tobacco, cotton, indigo, and rice, with tobacco being the primary cash crop. French and Indian War. Answer: a war fought between the English and the French, 1754 to 1763, in the American colonies, primarily over control of the Ohio Valley. The English won, but it significantly altered the balance of power in North America. Proclamation of 1763. Answer: a British proclamation forbidding settlers from moving west of the Appalachian Mountains after the French and Indian War, and requiring settled heirs already there to return east. Stamp Act, 1765-66. Answer: a British law that imposed a stamp duty on newspapers, legal, and commercial documents in the American colonies, creating widespread resentment. Declaratory Act, 1766. Answer: a law passed by Parliament in 1766 after repealing the Stamp Act. It reaffirmed Parliament's right to legislate for the American colonies in all cases whatsoever. Townshend Acts, 1767. Answer: a series of British taxes placed on lead, glass, paint, and tea, among other goods, which led to protests and unrest in the colonies. 3/4. Boston Tea Party. Answer: a protest in 1773 where American colonists, disguised as Native Americans, dumped hundreds of chests of British tea into Boston Harbor in response to the Tea Act. Intolerable Acts. Answer: a series of 4 acts passed by the British in 1774 in response to the Boston Tea Party. They included closing the Port of Boston, reducing colonial assembly power, allowing royal officers to be tried elsewhere, and permitting the quartering of troops in civilian homes. First Continental Congress, 1774. Answer: a meeting of 55 delegates from 12 colonies in Philadelphia, where they decided to halt trade with Britain and took a significant step toward independence. Lexington and Concord, 1775. Answer: the first battles of the Revolutionary War, often referred to as the shot heard round the world. These early conflicts between Massachusetts colonists and British troops marked the beginning of open hostilities. Common Sense. Answer: a pamphlet written by Thomas Paine in 1776, which criticized monarchies and convinced many colonists of the necessity of breaking away from Britain. Second Continental Congress, 1776. Answer: a meeting in which the colonies declared their independence from Britain by signing the Declaration of Independence. This document justified the Revolutionary War and formally declared the colonies as independent. Declaration of Independence. Answer: drafted in 1776 by Thomas Jefferson. It declared America's separation from Great Britain. It consisted of 3 parts. A new theory of government, the reasons for separation, and the formal declaration of war and independence. Treaty of Alliance. Answer: signed in 1778, this agreement between the United States and France stated that if France and England went to war, France would not make peace until U.S. independence was assured by treaty. Articles of Confederation. Answer: the first Constitution of the U.S., 1781. 1788. It created a weak central government with no executive, No judicial branch. Powered by TCPDF, www.tcpdf.org/4.